Okay, so this is 5-4, page 193. Zoom in a little bit more here so you guys can see it. So it says a hotel sets up tables for a conference for 156 people. If each table seats 12 people, how many tables will be needed? And it says solve this problem any way you choose. Well, I'll pull a stick for that one. Let's see here. Miss Vance, how would you solve that problem with the information they gave us? Yep. What would you divide? What by what?
You would divide 12 by 156.
Well, the other way around. You would divide 156 would be divided by 12. And I think all of you can do that by now. I'm not so worried about that. Bottom of the page here. Go ahead and put a line through that. I'm not worried about it. Next page. Typical example they give you to look at. And let's see here. I don't think I'm going to worry about that. I'll let you look at it if you want. There's, I think, one problem similar to this example in this lesson, so you can reference that later. So let's just jump into the guided practice on page 195. And I'm not worried about 1 and 2. You can put a line through those also. How nice is that? Then it says, shh. It says, use partial quotients to divide, show your work. Let's just pick one of these here. How about number 4, 13 into 286. So 13 goes into 28. Well, 13 plus 13 is 26, so that's pretty close. I'll put down a 2, and that's going to be 26. I'm going to subtract. I'm going to have 2 left over, and then I'm going to bring down the 6. And I've already done that. I know 13 goes into 26 twice, and there's nothing left over. And so the answer to number 4 is 22. How about number 6? Let's look at number 6 for a second. Number 6 is 32 into 960. Well, 32 does not go into 9. 32 does go into 96. And let me pull a stick for that. Mr. Leva, how many times do you think 32 fits into 96? Let me help you out here. Add those together for me if you can see that from back there. 2 plus 2 plus 2 is? Say again? 6, 6, it's 6. And 3 plus 3 plus 3, what would that be? Close again, that's 9. And so you can see that it's the same, 96. So I want to put down a 96. And there's nothing left over because we're subtracting. And so it went in 1, 2, 3 times. And then what do? We bring down the 0. Don't think you're done when you have a problem like this, because you're not. You say to yourself, well, there's nothing left over. There's only a 0 right here. I don't have to worry about that 0. Right, Ms. Powers? Correct? Okay. So I bring down the 0, and I ask myself the question, Ms. Powers, does 32 go into 0? Yeah, it doesn't. How many times does it go into it? It goes into it 0 times. And so there's my answer. Not just 3, because just 3 is 96. But the number is 960, so it's a lot bigger, so that wouldn't even make any sense. But I have to deal with that 0, and I would put a 0 up there, so it's 30 times. So the answer to number 6 is 30. All right. Now, I want to point out something to you guys in this lesson. I'm not going to worry about 7 and 8. You can put a line through those also. And so that means you don't have to worry about those. How nice is that, huh? But all the lessons that we've had since the beginning of chapter 5, the numbers have gone in evenly. And that's no longer the case. So I'm going to circle number 10, and you can do the same thing. And I'm going to circle number 13 here. And I'm going to circle number 16 here. And I want to let you know those 3 problems have remainders. Okay? Shh. So yeah, I still want you to do them. So they have remainders, just so you know. All right? Turn to the last page here. Page 196. We're looking at number 17. And it says a 969-acre wildfire preserve has 19 cheetahs. And it says about how many acres does each cheetah have to itself if the cheetah roams the same number of acres? Okay. So I'll pull a stick here. Mr. Galeazzi's not in here. Mr. Papke, what would I do to solve this problem?
You're dividing 969 by 19.
Put up 10 points. That's exactly right. That's what you would do. And it does say about. So, Mr. Papke, I'm going to stay with you. Let's use compatible numbers. What could we change 19 into?
20.
Yeah, thank you. And what might you change 969 into?
1,000.
Yeah, I think I would just change it to 1,000. And if you do that, you've got your answer. Okay? Because it does say about, so we're not looking for an exact answer. So you can approximate. And so if you divide 20 into 1,000, you'll know. Number 18. It says a factory produces 272 chairs in an 8-hour shift. If the factory produces the same number of chairs each hour, how many chairs does it produce in 30 minutes? Interesting. So, how many minutes, Miss Charleston, are in an hour? 60, that's right. How many minutes is this? 30. So this is the same thing as what? A half an hour. So we would solve this by doing 272 divided by 8. And that would tell us, Miss Powers, how many chairs it makes in an hour. But is that their question? No. What is their question?
How many it produces in minutes?
In what?
How many chairs it produces in 30 minutes?
In 30 minutes. How many chairs in a half an hour, not an hour. So whatever answer you get, Mr. Armstrong, whatever answer you get at the top here, it's half of that. Okay? You could divide it by 2. Right. Or just look at it, what's half of it. Let's say, for example, it's 16. Well, the answer would be 8. If it was 30, the answer would be 15. So it's half of that. So in a way, there's not 2 steps, but 3 steps to solving this. The first step is dividing 272 by 8, and then whatever your answer is, it's half of that, or as Miss McAnulty said, divided by 2. All right, number 19. It says a cafeteria can seat 5 times 10 squared students. course, if you knew what 10 squared, that would help. And then it says each table has 2 times 10 to the first seats. How many tables are in the cafeteria? Well, first off, let's figure out what's 5 times 10 squared. 5 times 10 squared is the same as, Mr. Kimmel, what is 10 squared? What's another way of saying 10 squared?
10 times 10.
Yes, exactly. And what's 10 times 10? 100. That's the same thing. They're the same thing. 5 times 10 squared is the same thing as 5 times 100. And so, Mr. Kimmel, I'll keep working with you here. What is 5 times 100? Yeah, 500. All right, so that's how many the cafeteria can seat. Then it says each table, put up 10 points, each table has 2 times 10 to the first seats. Well, 2 times 10 to the first is the same thing as 2 times 10. Okay, 2 times 10 is 20. So each table can fit 20 students. And so what do we have to do here? 500 divided by 20. And then you'll know how many tables are in the cafeteria. Okay? Number 20 says Peter is driving 992 miles from Chicago to Dallas. His sister Anna is driving 1,068 miles from Phoenix to Dallas. It says write and solve an equation to find out how much further Anna drives than Peter. Okay. Well, write and solve an equation. How much farther she drives. So we're trying to find difference is subtracting. And I don't think they used the word difference in here. I think I just said that.
It's how much.
But how much further?
It means subtracting.
So, I mean, one way to look at it, if I said how much further is 15 miles than 10 miles, well, you guys all automatically know it's 5 miles. You don't have to do the subtraction. But if it has, numbers like this, then you do know, well, you're going to have to do the subtraction. And so you're just going to subtract. It says write an equation. So 1,068 subtracting 992 equals something. And that's how much further Anna drives than Peter. All right. Number 21. Let's see here. It says write a multiplication equation and a division equation that represents the model shown. Well, I'm going to do this one, help you guys out here. This could be, 20 times 15 equals something. So here's the 20. Here's the 15. And 20 times 15 is 300. And then 300, here's what they have, 300 divided by 15. I'm sorry, 300 divided by 20 equals 15. So that one's done for you. How nice is that? And then number 22, higher order thinking. How can you use partial quotients to find 325 divided by 13? Well, 325 divided by 13. First thing is how many times does 13 go into 32? We've done something similar to this before. 13 times 2 is 26. We're subtracting. What's the difference? The difference is 6. And 4 more to adding to 26 is 30, plus 2 more is 6. So there's 6 left over. Bring down the 5. How many times does 13 go into 65? First hand up. 20 points for the group. Yes, Ms. Ruggerberg. Nope, you're guessing. Yes.
5 times?
Yep, you got it.
Wait, how much points?
Okay. 20 points, I said. Goes in 5 times. Can we confirm that? 13 times 5. 5 times 3 is 15. Carry the 1. 5 times 1 is 5 plus 1 is 6. Sure enough, 65. And so 65, whoops, that's a 5, believe it or not. Subtracting, that's a 0. So 25 times. And so it says, how can you use partial quotients to find 325 divided by 13? Well, you could, once you have your answer here, you could do 13 times 20 equals something, and 13 times 5 equals, well, we know what that is. Mr. Spears just gave that to us. It's 65. And so you're going to add whatever you get here and 65, and you should, whatever answer you get here, should, if you did it correctly, match that. All right? So you guys can copy that down. And then the bottom of the page is 23 and 24 multiple choices, and I will leave those alone for you guys to figure out. So I'll give you guys a little bit of time here to work on this today, and this will be due, of course, tomorrow.